Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn English with Podcast Conversation, your go-to podcast for improving your English speaking and listening skills. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Thomas. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's fun, interesting, and a great topic for conversation travel experiences.
Listening to podcasts like this can really help you improve your communication skills. You'll not only learn new vocabulary, but also how to talk about different topics, express yourself clearly, and connect with others.
Exactly. Today, we'll discuss how to share your travel stories, ask about others' travel experiences, and talk about different destinations in a natural, conversational way. So, let's get started.
One of the easiest ways to start a conversation about travel is by talking about your first trip. Thomas, do you remember your first travel experience?
Yes, absolutely. My first trip was to Spain. I was really young, around 10 years old, and I remember how excited I was to fly for the first time. What about you, Jennifer?
That sounds amazing. My first trip was to Canada, and I remember the beautiful landscapes and how welcoming the people were. It's a great way to break the ice, isn't it?
It is. Asking someone about their first trip is a great conversation starter. Everyone has that one special first travel memory, and it opens the door for more questions.
Yes, like asking about their favorite destination or how their travel habits have changed since then.
Speaking of favorite destinations, do you have a place you always recommend to people? Jennifer?
Definitely. I always recommend Japan. The culture, the food, the temples, it's such a unique experience. Every time I visit, I find something new to love about the country. How about you, Thomas?
For me, it has to be Italy. I love the history, the architecture, and of course, the food. There's just something magical about walking through the streets of Rome or exploring Venice by boat.
That's a great point, and it's fun to hear others' perspectives because we all enjoy different things about traveling.
Exactly. Plus, hearing someone's travel recommendations can give you ideas for your next trip.
Another interesting part of travel conversations is sharing unique or unexpected experiences. Have you ever had a trip that turned out differently than you expected?
Oh, definitely. I once went to Iceland, and we planned to see the Northern Lights. But the weather didn't cooperate, so instead, we spent more time exploring the glaciers and waterfalls, which was still incredible. What about you?
I once got lost in a small town in France. It was unplanned, but I ended up discovering a local market and meeting some amazing people. Sometimes, the unexpected moments become the best travel memories. Thomas, when you travel, do you prefer a more relaxed trip or a packed itinerary?
I like a balance. I enjoy seeing as much as I can, but I also think it's important to have some downtime to really soak in the atmosphere. What about you?
I'm more of a relaxed traveler. I prefer to take my time, explore at my own pace, and spend a lot of time in fewer places.
That's interesting. It's good to know how different people approach travel. It's a great topic for small talk because it can lead to a conversation about preferences, experiences, and tips. Another fun conversation topic is asking people about their dream destinations. Jennifer, if you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Oh, that's easy. I would go to New Zealand. I've always wanted to see the landscapes, especially after seeing them in movies. What about you?
For me, it would be South Africa. I've always wanted to go on a safari and see the wildlife up close. It's something I've never experienced before, but it's definitely on my bucket list.
Talking about dream destinations is such an easy way to get people excited. It brings out their passion for travel.
Absolutely. And it's also a great way to learn about new places you might not have considered visiting before.
One of the best parts of traveling is trying the local food. Do you have a favorite food you've tried while traveling, Thomas?
I loved the pasta in Italy, of course, but when I was in Thailand, I tried pad thai from a street vendor, and it was probably the best thing I've ever eaten.
That sounds delicious. I had the best sushi in Japan. and it was so fresh. The food is such a huge part of travel, and it's also a great way to learn about the culture.
Exactly. You can learn so much about a country through its food and traditions.
It's a topic everyone can relate to, whether you're a foodie or just someone who enjoys trying new things.
Jennifer, do you have any tips for first-time travelers? What would you recommend to someone going on their first big trip?
I would say don't overpack, keep things simple, and focus on enjoying the experience. Also, try to learn a few basic phrases in the local language. It goes a long way in making connections with people.
That's great advice. I would add that it's important to keep an open mind and be flexible. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but that can lead to the best memories.
Exactly. And even if you're nervous, just remember that traveling is about learning and exploring. So embrace the experience. One thing I've noticed about traveling is how much it helps you grow as a person. Have you ever felt that, Thomas?
Definitely. When you step out of your comfort zone, whether it's visiting a new country or navigating a different culture, you learn so much about yourself. You become more adaptable and open-minded. What about you, Jennifer?
I completely agree. Travel has taught me to be more patient and understanding. You encounter so many different ways of life, and it really makes you appreciate diversity.
It's also interesting to see how travel influences your worldview. You begin to see things from a broader perspective.
Exactly. And that's why discussing travel can lead to such deep conversations. It's not just about the places you've been, but how those experiences have changed you.
Jennifer, have you ever faced any challenges while traveling that made you stronger?
Oh yes, there have been a few. I once had a major flight delay that left me stranded in an airport overnight. It was frustrating at first, but it taught me how to stay calm and go with the flow. What about you?
I can relate. I once lost my luggage during a trip to Germany. It was tough at the moment, but it taught me to always pack my essentials in my carry-on and to not let small setbacks ruin the experience.
Exactly, travel can be unpredictable, but overcoming those challenges is what makes it so rewarding.
And talking about those challenges can be a great way to connect with others. Everyone has a story of something going wrong while traveling.
So, Thomas, do you prefer to travel solo or with a group?
I enjoy both, but solo travel definitely has a special appeal. It gives you the freedom to do what you want, when you want, but I also like group travel for the social aspect. It's fun to share experiences with friends or family. How about you?
I'm the same. Solo travel is great for self-reflection and independence, but group travel is more about creating memories with others. Both have their pros and cons, and it really depends on the type of trip.
Exactly. And this is another interesting conversation topic, finding out what kind of traveler someone is. It says a lot about their personality.
Yes, and it can lead to discussions about the benefits and challenges of both. Whether you like the freedom of solo travel or the company of others, there's always something to talk about.
Jennifer, have you noticed how much more people are talking about sustainable travel these days?
Yes, and I think it's such an important conversation. We all love traveling, but we need to be mindful of our impact on the environment. Small changes like using reusable water bottles or supporting local businesses can make a big difference. What about you?
I agree. I've started choosing eco-friendly accommodations and being more conscious of my carbon footprint when I fly. It's amazing how even small steps can help protect the places we love to visit.
That's a great point. And as travelers, we have a responsibility to preserve the beauty of the places we explore for future generations.
Exactly. It's not just about seeing new places, it's about doing it in a way that's respectful to the environment and local communities.
One of the things I find fascinating about travel is learning about different cultural norms. For example, in Japan, people are so polite and organized, while in Italy, everything feels more relaxed and spontaneous. Have you noticed that, Thomas?
Oh yes, definitely. In Germany, I noticed how punctual and precise people are, whereas in countries like Spain, there's a more laid-back attitude, especially when it comes to time.
That's true. And these differences make travel so enriching. You get to experience new ways of life and learn to appreciate the diversity of cultures around the world.
Exactly. And it also teaches you to be respectful of those cultural norms, whether it's learning how to greet people or understanding local customs.
Yes, and discussing cultural norms is a great way to connect with others, especially if they've traveled to similar places.
Jennifer, do you have any go-to tips for preparing for a trip? How do you get ready?
I always make a checklist. It helps me stay organized, especially when it comes to packing. I also like to research the destination in advance so I know a little bit about the local customs and what to expect. What about you?
I'm a checklist person too. I also make sure to download maps and important documents on my phone, just in case I don't have internet access. And I always check the weather so I pack the right clothes.
That's a smart idea. It's always good to be prepared, especially for longer trips or when traveling to places with different climates.
Exactly, and talking about travel preparation can be really helpful for first-time travelers or anyone planning a big trip.
Thomas, how important do you think language is when traveling to different countries?
I think it's really important, even if you just learn a few basic phrases. Knowing how to say hello, thank you, or excuse me in the local language can go a long way. It shows respect and can make your experience more enjoyable. What about you?
I agree. Even though English is widely spoken, making an effort to learn the local language can help you connect with people on a deeper level. It also helps you navigate situations better, especially in places where English isn't as common.
Exactly, and it's another great topic of conversation. You can share stories about how language helped you on your travels or discuss the challenges of traveling in a place where you don't speak the language.
Yes, and it also opens the door for language learners to practice their skills and gain more confidence in real-world situations. Thomas, do you have a travel experience that stands out as one of your most memorable?
Definitely. One of my most memorable experiences was hiking up to Machu Picchu in Peru. The scenery was breathtaking, and reaching the top after a long hike was such an achievement. The view was incredible. What about you, Jennifer?
That sounds amazing. For me, visiting the Great Wall of China was unforgettable. I remember walking along the wall, imagining all the history it's witnessed. It's one of those moments where you feel so small compared to the grandness of what's around you.
That's what makes travel so special, right? Those moments that stay with you forever, whether it's the sights, the people, or the history.
Exactly. And sharing those experiences with others can inspire future trips and create meaningful conversations. Jennifer, do you have any tips for traveling on a budget? Oh yes, I always look for deals on flights and accommodations. There are great apps out there that help you compare prices. I also try to travel during the off-season to avoid high prices and crowds. What about you?
I'm the same. I also recommend staying in hostels or using home-sharing platforms to save money. Plus, they can offer a more authentic experience. Another tip is to eat where the locals eat. It's cheaper and often tastier.
Great point. I also love using public transportation when I'm traveling. It's usually much cheaper than taxis, and you get to experience the city like a local.
Exactly. Talking about budget travel is something everyone can relate to, whether they're seasoned travelers or just starting out.
Thomas, do you think travel has influenced your creativity in any way?
Absolutely. Traveling exposes you to new ideas, new sights, and different ways of thinking. It can spark creativity in ways you wouldn't expect. Whether it's through photography, writing, or just problem solving, travel gives you new inspiration. What about you?
I agree. Whenever I travel, I find myself more motivated to take pictures, write about my experiences, or even try new things when I'm back home. It's like the change in environment unlocks a new level of creativity.
Yes, and it's interesting how travel can inspire not just artists, but anyone who wants to think outside the box. It broadens your mind and gives you fresh perspectives.
Exactly. And that's another reason why discussing travel is such a great topic. It taps into the personal growth and creativity that come with it.
So, Jennifer, are you more of a spontaneous traveler, or do you like to plan everything out in advance?
I like a balance of both. I usually have a rough plan for major activities, but I also leave room for spontaneous adventures. Sometimes the best experiences happen when you don't plan them. How about you?
I'm a planner, but I agree with you. Some of my favorite travel memories happened when things didn't go according to plan. I think having a flexible attitude is key.
Exactly. It's fun to see how different people approach travel. Some love to have every detail planned, while others just go with the flow. Both approaches can lead to great experiences.
And that's a fun conversation starter to asking someone if they're a planner or a spontaneous traveler. It can lead to interesting stories either way.
Thomas, how important is food to you when you travel?
Oh, it's a huge part of the experience for me. Trying local dishes is one of the best ways to understand a culture. I always make a point to try something new, whether it's street food or a traditional meal. What about you?
Same here. I love tasting the different flavors of each place I visit. Food really tells a story about the culture and history of a place. I still remember the first time I tried sushi in Japan. It was such a unique and memorable experience.
And it's not just about the taste, right? It's the atmosphere, the people you're with, and sometimes even the challenge of figuring out how to order something new.
Exactly. Discussing food and travel can lead to so many stories and recommendations. It's a universal topic everyone loves to talk about.
Jennifer, what do you think about travel etiquette? Do you think it's important to follow certain rules when visiting other countries?
Absolutely. Respecting local customs and traditions is a must when traveling. It's important to do your research and make sure you're not offending anyone, even unintentionally. What about you?
I agree 100%. It's easy to overlook certain cultural norms if you're not aware of them, but taking the time to learn about them shows respect. Whether it's tipping in restaurants or dress codes for religious sites, these little things can make a big difference.
Exactly. And it's a great topic to talk about with others. Everyone has different experiences when it comes to travel etiquette, and sharing those can be really educational.
Yes, and it's also a reminder to be open-minded and adaptable. After all, travel is about learning and experiencing new things, including the way people live and interact in different parts of the world.
Thomas, do you think who you travel with can make or break a trip?
Definitely, the people you travel with can really influence how much you enjoy the experience. A great travel companion can make even the most ordinary places fun, while a mismatched travel partner can make things stressful. What do you think?
I completely agree. I've had trips where the destination was beautiful, but because the people I was with weren't as enthusiastic, it wasn't as enjoyable. And I've had the opposite experience, where the company made all the difference.
Exactly. It's important to find people who share your travel style, whether you like to relax or explore nonstop. Having companions who are on the same page makes everything smoother.
And that's another fun topic to discuss, how different people approach group travel and what they look for in a travel companion.
Jennifer, have you ever traveled alone? If so, how did it compare to traveling with a group?
Yes, I've traveled alone a few times, and it's a completely different experience. You get to set your own pace, make spontaneous decisions, and really connect with the places you visit. But it can also be a little lonely at times. How about you?
I've done both, and I think solo travel teaches you a lot about yourself. It's a great way to push your comfort zone and gain confidence. But I also enjoy traveling with friends because you get to share those amazing moments with someone else.
Exactly. Solo travel gives you independence, but traveling with others creates memories you can look back on together. Both have their pros and cons, but I think trying both at different points in your life is important.
Totally. That balance of alone time and shared experiences makes travel even more rewarding. It's a great conversation topic to people who usually have strong opinions about whether they prefer solo or group travel.
Thomas, have you ever had a travel experience where something unexpected happened? How did you handle it?
Oh, yes, plenty of times. One that stands out is when I missed a flight because of a long security line. At first, I was frustrated, but I learned to stay calm and focus on finding solutions instead of stressing. I ended up booking another flight and using the extra time to explore the airport. How about you?
Yes, I once had a hotel reservation canceled last minute. It was stressful at first, but I quickly found another place to stay and turned the situation into an adventure by exploring a different part of the city. I think travel teaches you to adapt when things don't go as planned.
Exactly. Being flexible is key. That's what makes travel such a great teacher. It helps you deal with the unexpected and makes you more resilient. And discussing these kinds of stories always leads to interesting conversations.
Absolutely. Sharing travel challenges can also help others prepare for their own trips and give them the confidence to handle things when they go wrong.
Jennifer, with all the travel you've done, have you ever thought about its environmental impact?
Yes, it's something I've become more conscious of in recent years. Traveling does have an environmental cost, especially when it comes to flights. I've started trying to offset my carbon footprint by choosing eco-friendly accommodations and using public transport when possible. How do you feel about it?
I'm the same. I try to be mindful of how my trips affect the environment, whether it's reducing waste or supporting local businesses. It's a difficult balance because we love to travel, but we also have to think about sustainability.
Exactly. I think it's important to have discussions about sustainable travel and how we can all make small changes to minimize our impact while still enjoying the experience.
Definitely. Travel can still be enjoyable and eco-friendly at the same time. It's another topic that's becoming more important and worth discussing with others.
Thomas, how has technology changed the way you travel?
Technology has made travel so much easier. From booking flights and accommodations to using GPS to navigate new cities, it's hard to imagine traveling without it now. What about you?
I completely agree. I remember a time when I had to rely on paper maps, and now, with just a smartphone, I can do everything: find restaurants, check public transport schedules, and even translate languages. It's a game changer.
Yes, and apps like Airbnb or ride-sharing services have made travel more accessible and affordable for a lot of people. But sometimes I miss the spontaneity that came with traveling without technology.
That's true. While technology makes things more convenient, it's important not to rely on it too much. Sometimes the best experiences come from getting a little lost or stumbling upon something unexpected.
One of my favorite things about traveling is experiencing cultural differences. Have you ever been surprised by something that was completely normal in another country, but unusual for you?
Yes, absolutely. I remember visiting Japan and being surprised by how quiet it was on public transport. People were so respectful and mindful of others, which is a bit different from what I'm used to. It was a wonderful reminder of how unique cultures can be. What about you?
I had a similar experience in Italy. Meal times there are so relaxed and leisurely, which is very different from the quick meals I'm used to back home. I loved how meals were a time to socialize and truly enjoy the food.
That's such a great point. Travel really opens your eyes to different ways of living and interacting with the world. It's one of the reasons I think travel is so important. It broadens your perspective and makes you more empathetic.
Exactly. Talking about cultural differences is always interesting because it highlights how diverse our world is, and it's something that everyone can learn from.
Thomas, do you think traveling has changed you as a person?
Without a doubt, travel has made me more patient, more adaptable, and more open to new experiences. It forces you out of your comfort zone and teaches you to deal with situations you wouldn't face at home. What about you?
I completely agree. Travel has definitely helped me grow as a person. It's made me more confident and independent. It also helps you appreciate the little things in life, like a beautiful sunset or a quiet moment in nature.
That's so true. I think travel makes you more grateful for what you have and more curious about the world. It's not just about visiting new places, it's about discovering more about yourself along the way.
Exactly. And reflecting on those experiences can lead to even more personal growth, both for ourselves and for others when we share our stories.
Jennifer, do you have any travel goals or places you still want to visit?
Definitely. I've always wanted to visit New Zealand for its natural beauty and adventure opportunities. It's high on my bucket list. What about you?
For me, I'd love to explore Iceland. The landscapes look incredible, and I've heard so much about the Northern Lights. It's one of those places that feels magical.
That sounds amazing. I think having travel goals is a great way to stay inspired. Even if we can't visit everywhere, it's fun to dream and plan.
Exactly. And discussing future travel goals with others can give you new ideas and inspiration for your next trip.
Thomas, have you ever traveled to a place where you didn't speak the language? How did you manage?
Yes, I went to South Korea a few years ago, and I didn't speak much Korean. It was challenging at first, but I picked up a few basic phrases and relied a lot on body language and translation apps. It actually became part of the adventure, trying to communicate in different ways. What about you?
I've been in similar situations, especially in countries where English isn't widely spoken. It can be intimidating at first, but I found that people are usually very patient and helpful if you make an effort to speak their language, even if it's just a few words.
Exactly. I think learning a few basic phrases like hello, thank you, and excuse me can go a long way in making connections with locals. It shows respect for their culture, and it often leads to more positive interactions.
Yes, and travel can be such a great way to practice a new language. Immersing yourself in the language helps you pick it up faster, and it's a more enjoyable way to learn compared to just studying from a book.
I agree. It makes the learning process feel more natural. Plus, it's so rewarding when you're able to successfully communicate in another language, even if it's just for small things like ordering food or asking for directions.
Thomas, after all our discussions today, I think it's safe to say that travel leaves a lasting impact on all of us. It's not just about seeing new places, it's about the personal growth, the connections we make, and the memories that stay with us long after we return home.
Absolutely. Travel broadens our horizons in so many ways. It makes us more understanding of different cultures, more adaptable, and sometimes even more creative. Every trip teaches us something new about the world and about ourselves.
And whether it's solo travel, group adventures, or even short weekend getaways, each experience brings its own unique lessons. I think that's why people love talking about travel. It's such a rich source of stories and inspiration.
Definitely. It's one of those topics that can connect people instantly. Sharing travel stories is a great way to bond and learn from each other's experiences, even if we've been to different places.
Exactly. And for our listeners, I hope today's episode has sparked some excitement for your future travels, or at least given you a few tips and ideas for your next trip.
Yes, and remember, traveling is not just about the destination, but about the journey and the experiences along the way. Whether you're planning your next big adventure or just reminiscing about past trips, I hope you continue to explore the world with an open mind and heart.
Thomas, what's one of the biggest challenges you've faced while traveling?
One of the biggest challenges for me was navigating unfamiliar transportation systems, especially in non-English speaking countries. I remember being in Tokyo and trying to figure out the subway system. It was overwhelming at first with all the signs in Japanese and the sheer number of lines. But after a bit of trial and error, I eventually got the hang of it.
I can relate to that. Public transportation can definitely be tricky, especially when the signs and announcements aren't in English. I found that asking locals for help can make a big difference. Even if they don't speak English, they're usually very willing to assist.
Yes, that's a great point. I've had positive experiences asking for help too. I think it's a reminder that as travelers, we have to be flexible and patient. Things don't always go as planned, but that's part of the adventure.
Exactly. I've learned to embrace those moments of uncertainty as opportunities for growth. Whether it's getting lost or dealing with travel delays, those challenges often lead to the best stories and memories.
It's true. The unexpected moments often turn out to be the most memorable. And I think they also teach us valuable life skills like problem solving, resilience, and adaptability.
Let's switch gears for a moment. One of my favorite parts of traveling is trying different foods. Do you have a favorite dish from your travels, Thomas?
That's a tough one because I love trying new foods when I travel. But if I had to choose, I'd say the street food in Thailand was incredible. The flavors were so fresh and vibrant. I particularly loved the pad thai and mango sticky rice simple dishes, but so flavorful.
Oh, those are amazing. Thai street food is some of the best. I'm a big fan of Japanese cuisine myself, especially sushi. I had the chance to visit a sushi market in Tokyo, and it was an unforgettable experience. The fish was so fresh, and the sushi was prepared right in front of me.
That sounds incredible. I love how food is such a big part of travel. It's not just about eating, it's about experiencing the culture through its cuisine. And sometimes, trying a new dish can even push you out of your comfort zone.
Definitely, and food has a way of bringing people together, too. Some of my favorite travel memories involve sharing meals with locals or fellow travelers. There's something special about bonding over a meal, even if you don't speak the same language.
Absolutely. Food is a universal language in itself. It's one of the best ways to connect with a new culture and create lasting memories.
Thomas, have you ever traveled solo? How was that experience different from traveling with others?
Yes, I've done solo travel a few times, and it's a very different experience. I think the biggest difference is the freedom you have to do whatever you want without having to coordinate with others. You can set your own pace and change plans on a whim. But on the flip side, it can feel a bit lonely at times, especially in the evenings when you don't have anyone to share the day's experiences with.
I agree. Solo travel offers a lot of independence, but it also comes with its own set of challenges. I've done a bit of solo travel myself, and I found it to be a great opportunity for self-reflection. When you're on your own, you tend to be more introspective and really take in your surroundings in a different way.
That's true. I think solo travel helps you grow in ways that group travel doesn't. You have to rely on yourself for everything, which builds confidence. Plus, it forces you to step out of your comfort zone and meet new people.
Exactly. And I think solo travel can be a transformative experience. It teaches you to be more self-reliant, but it also shows you how connected we all are. Even when you're alone, you realize how many opportunities there are to meet new people and create new friendships. Thomas, let's talk about something important: travel etiquette and cultural sensitivity. When you travel, how do you ensure that you're being respectful of the local culture?
That's such a vital part of traveling. For me, one of the first things I do before visiting a new place is research the local customs and social norms. It helps to know what's considered polite or impolite behavior, how to dress appropriately, and what the general expectations are in public spaces.
That's a great habit to have. I do the same, especially when it comes to things like greeting people or tipping in restaurants, which can vary a lot from country to country. I also make sure to learn a few basic phrases in the local language. It goes a long way to show that you're making an effort.
Exactly. Even just saying hello or thank you in the local language can create a positive interaction. It shows respect for the culture and helps you connect with locals. I also try to be mindful of things like taking photos. Not every place or person is open to having their picture taken, so I always ask first.
That's an excellent point. Photography can be tricky in some places, and being respectful is key. I've also noticed that what's considered acceptable behavior in one culture may be seen as rude or inappropriate in another, so it's important to stay aware and open-minded.
Right, being adaptable and willing to learn is crucial. It's not just about following rules, but about genuinely engaging with the culture in a thoughtful way. And if you make a mistake, being humble and apologizing goes a long way.
Safety is another big concern for travelers. Thomas, do you have any tips for staying safe while exploring new places?
Definitely. One of the main things I do is keep copies of my important documents, like my passport and travel insurance, both digitally and physically. I also make sure I know the local emergency numbers and the location of my country's embassy or consulate, just in case.
That's great advice. I always share my travel itinerary with someone back home too, so they know where I am in case of an emergency. Another thing I've found helpful is blending in as much as possible, avoiding flashy clothes or expensive-looking jewelry that might attract unwanted attention.
Exactly. I try to avoid looking too much like a tourist. It's also helpful to trust your instincts. If something feels off, it's better to leave and find a safer area. I always stay aware of my surroundings, especially in crowded places or at night.
That's smart. Safety really comes down to being prepared and staying vigilant. But it's also about enjoying yourself without constantly worrying. I've found that following local advice and staying informed can ease a lot of travel anxieties.
Absolutely. Safety doesn't mean avoiding risks altogether, but rather being mindful of potential challenges and taking steps to prevent problems. The more prepared you are, the more you can relax and enjoy the experience.
Thomas, we've talked about challenges and safety, but let's shift the focus to the positive side. How do you think travel has impacted your personal growth?
Travel has been one of the most significant experiences in shaping who I am today. It's taught me to be more adaptable and open-minded. Every time I visit a new place, I learn something new, whether it's about a different culture, language, or even just a new perspective on life.
I completely agree. Traveling broadens your horizons in ways that staying in your comfort zone can't. For me, it's not just about seeing new places, but about challenging myself. It's helped me develop confidence, especially when navigating situations where I don't speak the language or when things don't go as planned.
Yes, those situations really teach you problem solving and patience, and I think travel also builds empathy. When you see how different people live around the world, you become more aware of the challenges they face and more appreciative of the privileges you have.
That's a wonderful point. Travel fosters a sense of global citizenship, reminding us that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. It's not just about the places you go, but the people you meet and the connections you make along the way.
Exactly. It's an opportunity to break down barriers and create understanding. And I think that's one of the most powerful lessons travel can teach us, to be open to new experiences and perspectives.
Thomas, let's talk about one of the most fun aspects of travel: making memories. What's one of your favorite travel memories?
Oh, there are so many, but if I had to choose, I'd say my trip to Kyoto in Japan stands out. I remember visiting during the cherry blossom season, and it was like stepping into a dream. The temples, the peaceful gardens, and the vibrant festivals, it felt magical. One evening, I stumbled upon a local tea ceremony, which was such a calming and unique experience. It's something I'll never forget.
That sounds absolutely incredible. I've always wanted to visit Japan during cherry blossom season. For me, one of my best travel memories was a spontaneous road trip along the coast of Portugal. We didn't have a fixed plan, which was both exciting and a bit nerve-wracking, but the scenic views of the cliffs, the ocean, and discovering small, charming villages made it all worthwhile. We even joined a local festival by chance, and and it felt like we truly experienced the local culture.
That sounds like an amazing adventure. I love the idea of just going with the flow and discovering new places. Sometimes the most unplanned trips end up being the most memorable.
Exactly. It's those unexpected moments that often leave the biggest impressions. Whether it's stumbling upon a hidden gem of a restaurant or meeting friendly locals who share their stories, those little surprises make traveling so special.
Absolutely. It's those connections and experiences that stay with you long after the trip is over.
While travel is amazing, sometimes budgeting can be a real challenge. Do you have any tips for making travel affordable, Thomas?
Definitely. One thing I always recommend is planning ahead and looking for deals on flights and accommodation. I use travel apps that notify me of discounts or price drops, which helps me find affordable options. Also, staying in hostels or using homestays can be much cheaper than hotels, and you often get to meet fellow travelers.
Great tip. I also try to travel during the off-season when prices are lower and places are less crowded. It can really make a difference in terms of cost, and you still get to experience everything the destination has to offer. Another thing I do is prioritize experiences over expensive accommodations or fancy meals.
That's smart. I'm the same. I'd rather spend money on exploring or doing activities than staying in a luxury hotel. Another way to save money is by using public transportation instead of taxis or rental cars. It's cheaper and you also get a more authentic experience by traveling like a local.
Exactly. I've also found that cooking your own meals sometimes can save a lot. If you're staying in an Airbnb or hostel with a kitchen, it's a great way to cut down on food costs, especially in places where dining out can be expensive.
That's a great point. It's all about finding a balance between enjoying the experience and sticking to your budget. And with a bit of research and planning, budget travel can be just as rewarding as more luxurious trips.
Thomas, what's your take on sustainable travel? It's becoming such a big topic these days.
I think it's really important. As travelers, we have a responsibility to minimize our impact on the environment and the places we visit. Simple actions like reducing plastic use, supporting local businesses, and being mindful of our carbon footprint can make a big difference. I always try to choose eco-friendly accommodations and opt for walking or cycling instead of using cars whenever possible.
I totally agree. I've been more conscious of sustainable travel lately too. One thing I've started doing is bringing a reusable water bottle and shopping bag with me so I don't have to rely on single-use plastics. Also, I try to support local ecotourism initiatives like wildlife conservation projects or cultural preservation efforts, which not only benefit the environment but also help the local community.
That's fantastic. Sustainable travel doesn't mean sacrificing enjoyment. It just means being more thoughtful about how we travel. Another thing I do is try to limit air travel when possible. I look for trains or buses as alternatives, especially for shorter distances, because they have a lower environmental impact.
That's a great approach. And it's not just about the environment, but also about being respectful of the places we visit. Over-tourism can damage ecosystems and local communities, so it's important to be mindful of how our presence as tourists affects them.
Exactly. Sustainable travel is all about finding ways to leave a positive impact, not just for ourselves, but for future generations of travelers and the places we love to explore.
One of the best parts of traveling for me is meeting new people. It's amazing how travel connects you with so many different cultures and perspectives. Have you made any memorable connections on your trips, Thomas?
Oh, definitely. One trip that stands out is when I went backpacking in South America. I met a group of fellow travelers from all over the world, and we ended up exploring several cities together. We bonded over the shared experiences like getting lost in the markets of Peru or hiking up to Machu Picchu. Even though we were strangers at first, those shared moments created friendships that have lasted long after the trip ended.
That's incredible. I love how travel can bring people together like that. I've had a similar experience in Thailand. I met a local family who invited me to their home for dinner. It was such a warm and welcoming experience, and I got to learn more about their culture and traditions firsthand. We stayed in touch, and I've even gone back to visit them again.
That's the beauty of travel. It opens you up to meeting people you might never have crossed paths with otherwise. Whether it's locals or other travelers, those connections often become some of the most meaningful parts of the journey.
Absolutely. It's also a reminder of how much we can learn from each other. Travel pushes us out of our comfort zones and helps us see the world and ourselves through a new lens. I've done both, and they each have their pros and cons. Solo travel gives you so much freedom you can go wherever you want, on your own schedule. It's empowering in a way because you learn to rely on yourself and make decisions without anyone else's input. But at the same time, group travel can be a lot of fun because you're sharing the experience with others, which can make it more memorable.
I completely agree. I've traveled solo, and it's definitely a unique experience. It forces you to step out of your comfort zone and interact with people you might not have otherwise met. But, like you said, traveling with friends or family brings a different kind of joy. There's something special about sharing those moments and being able to reminisce about them together later.
Exactly. I think it really depends on the destination and what you're hoping to get out of the trip. For more adventurous destinations, I often prefer solo travel because I like the challenge. But for places where I want to relax or just have a good time, group travel can make the experience more enjoyable.
That makes sense. I think the key is balance. If you're a solo traveler, it's still great to join group activities or tour sometimes to meet people. And if you're traveling with a group, taking some solo time to explore can also be refreshing.
One thing I find challenging is trying to fit a lot into a short trip. Have you ever had to travel on a tight schedule, Thomas?
Yes, many times, especially when I was working full-time and only had a few days off. It's tricky because you want to experience as much as possible, but you also don't want to feel rushed. I think the key is prioritizing. Before I leave, I make a list of my must-see places or activities, and I focus on those. I also try to give myself some downtime to just enjoy the atmosphere without feeling like I have to check everything off a list.
That's a great approach. I've definitely been guilty of cramming too much into a short trip, and it can be exhausting. What I've learned is that it's okay not to see everything. Sometimes just taking a stroll through a city or sitting at a cafe and people watching can be just as fulfilling as visiting a famous landmark.
Exactly. It's about quality over quantity. Trying to see everything in a limited time can take away from the enjoyment of the trip. I've also learned to embrace flexibility. Plans change, and sometimes the best experiences come from unexpected detours.
Yes, some of my favorite memories are from those spontaneous moments. Like missing a train and discovering a beautiful park or cafe nearby while waiting for the next one. It's all part of the adventure.
Totally. Travel is as much about the journey as it is about the destination. And sometimes the slower, more relaxed moments can be the most rewarding.
When traveling, it's important to be mindful of cultural etiquette and local customs. Have you ever been in a situation where you weren't sure what the right thing to do was, Thomas?
Yes, especially when I first started traveling to countries with very different customs from my own. In Japan, for example, there are specific etiquette rules around bowing, taking off your shoes indoors, and even how to hand over money. I had to do some research beforehand to make sure I didn't accidentally offend anyone, but I still found myself learning along the way.
I've had similar experiences. I think one of the best things you can do as a traveler is to educate yourself about the culture before you arrive. It shows respect, and locals appreciate it when you make an effort. I've noticed that a little goes a long way, like learning a few basic phrases in the local language or understanding how tipping works.
Exactly. And if you do make a mistake, most people are understanding as long as you're respectful and open to learning. I think being humble and showing curiosity is key.
That's such a good point. Being a respectful traveler is all about being aware of the impact you're having on the community you're visiting and doing your best to minimize any negative effects.
Agreed. Whether it's respecting local traditions, being mindful of how much waste we generate, or supporting local businesses, it all contributes to a more meaningful and responsible travel experience. One of the biggest challenges when traveling is the language barrier. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where communication was difficult, Jennifer?
Oh, definitely. When I was in Italy, I didn't speak much Italian beyond the basics, and I remember trying to order food at a local restaurant. The menu was entirely in Italian, and the staff didn't speak English. It was a bit challenging, but it turned into a fun experience. I ended up using hand gestures and pointing at pictures on the menu, and we all had a good laugh about it.
I've had similar experiences in countries like China, where the language and even the writing system were completely different from what I knew. It's moments like that when you realize how universal nonverbal communication can be. Smiling, pointing, and even using translation apps can go a long way.
Exactly, and I think those situations can be humbling and rewarding. It shows us how important it is to be patient and creative when communicating. Plus, locals really appreciate it when you try to speak their language, even if you don't get it perfect.
Yes, the effort is what counts. And honestly, it makes the travel experience richer when you step outside your comfort zone and learn a bit of the local language. It opens up more meaningful interactions with the people you meet.
When it comes to travel, there's something special about discovering places that aren't tourist hotspots. Have you ever ventured off the beaten path, Thomas?
I have, and I highly recommend it. While it's great to see famous landmarks, some of my best memories come from exploring lesser-known areas. For example, I visited a small village in Spain that wasn't in any guidebook. It was peaceful, the locals were welcoming, and it felt like I was seeing an authentic side of the country.
That sounds wonderful. I had a similar experience in Morocco. Instead of staying in the big cities, I traveled to smaller towns where I got to experience the local culture in a more intimate way. The slower pace, the friendliness of the people, and the lack of crowds made it so much more enjoyable.
Exactly. I think when you go off the beaten path, you often get a more genuine feel for the place. There's less pressure to see and do everything, and you can take your time soaking in the environment and connecting with the locals.
It's a reminder that travel isn't just about ticking off famous attractions, it's about the experiences and the connections you make along the way.
As we wrap up our conversation on travel, I think it's important to reflect on how travel changes us. Jennifer, how do you think your travels have impacted you over the years?
Travel has definitely made me more open-minded and adaptable. Being exposed to different cultures, languages, and ways of life has broadened my perspective. I feel more connected to the world, and it's made me appreciate both the differences and similarities we all share.
I feel the same. Travel teaches you to be patient, flexible, and more aware of the world around you. It's also a reminder that we're part of something much bigger. Every place I've visited has left a mark on me in some way, whether it's through the people I've met or the experiences I've had.
Exactly. Travel pushes us to grow and see things from a new perspective. It challenges us in the best possible ways and enriches our lives in ways we may not even realize at the time.
That's true, and whether it's a short trip or a long adventure, every journey teaches us something new, not just about the world, but about ourselves as well.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Podcast to Improve English Speaking. We hope our discussion about travel has inspired you to explore new places, meet new people, and experience the world in a way that broadens your horizons. And remember, listening to these conversations is a great way to improve your English skills.
Absolutely. Keep tuning in to practice your listening and communication skills, and we'll keep sharing interesting topics like travel, culture, and much more. Thanks again for being with us, and we can't wait to talk with you in the next episode.
Until then, happy travels and happy learning.
See you next time.